Hey friends, Cambria Evans here with the Zero Disturbance Podcast. And here in our series, Why Women Go to Therapy, we are talking about all of the themes and reasons why women step into a therapist's office. And here in my office in California, it's been a complete joy for me to support my patients the last 10 years. And I've got some really beautiful themes of what I see in my practice. And just bringing my own personal experiences to the podcast as well has been really meaningful for me. So today, with all that in mind, we are going to be focusing on one of my favorite topics, which is our alarm system as women. What does that mean? And how do we know that we have got full agency and clarity about our own alarm? What prompted this episode was actually pretty great. I'll give you the context. So I mentioned in a previous episode that this summer, I was off the entire month of July and I got to have some really great time with my children. But I also got to have a really rich business trip with one of my dearest friends and colleagues. And we were putting together a lot of podcast topics and curriculum and exploring different retreat options in France and in Portugal. And this is somebody I'm sure I'll have on the podcast at some point, but she has been an incredible mentor for me through really hard parts of my life around parenting and marriage and divorce. And it's always just a lot of fun to be with this person because she allows my positive beliefs of self to shine. And it's just so playful and wonderful. So we were sitting in a restaurant at the beach in Portugal, and it was all open windows, and we're having this amazing seafood. We just come off of the beach. We're in our bathing suits and cover-ups, and all of a sudden, the alarm goes off. The alarm goes off, and it is so loud. And we're kind of sitting there like, is this something, like, should we get up? Should we go outside? Like, we don't see any smoke. No one's really responding, running around. Everyone can hear it, like it's a fire alarm, but no one's doing anything. And we're kind of sitting there, and we're just like, well, I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. And what was interesting was what happened over the next 20 minutes. There was this like assessment process that was happening of like, are we safe? Do we have clarity about what's happening yet? Because we don't speak the language. We don't really know what's normal here in terms of like, do alarms go off every day? No one else is responding to the alarm, but everyone's acknowledging like they can hear it. It's very, very, very loud. And then we kind of went into this other phase that fascinated me as a therapist, which was this acceptance of like, we're safe now and we have choices. And from those positive beliefs of self, we were able to enjoy ourselves. We actually at one point were like dancing to the beat of the fire alarm, like it was like a, disco song, because why not, right? We wanted to eat. We were laughing our asses off. We knew we were safe. And we knew that if it got dangerous, if it really was something that was worthy of an alarm, we could leave. We could go outside. We could literally see multiple exits onto the beach. And then we kind of went into this phase of getting curious of like, why is this alarm going off? Does it have a clear function that we're supposed to care about? And also like, who's going to turn this off and when? And what can we do to tolerate a malfunctioning alarm now that we know we're safe and we have choices? What can we do in our own experience to tolerate that distress, knowing that the alarm is probably a nothing burger? And sure enough, we learned that the alarm had just gone off, but that in this town in Portugal, that they were required to have the fire department come and turn it off and make sure everything was safe in the kitchen and all the things. And we got to see Portuguese firefighters, so that wasn't so bad. So it got me thinking, as a trauma therapist, as an EMDR therapist, it got me thinking about the alarm systems I have in my own nervous system and the alarm systems of the people that I serve in my office. And it got me thinking about when someone sets off an alarm that through an assessment period, we can understand is like a nothing burger and is annoying, but like will eventually shut up and turn off and you can go about your life. And like this question of how do we hold ourselves during this waiting period? This was really interesting to me because I have a lot of women that I serve who are cognizant through our work together with EMDR that their alarm system is a nothing burger now, right? The alarm system was designed when they were a kid so that when this part of them, this adaptation was tracking for approval or safety with a caregiver or in an early environment, the alarm system was designed to go off with, panic attack or like some other kind of mental health psychosomatic symptom to help them respond and figure something out. They have the clarity now that the actual alarm was designed for a reason. It makes sense why it was designed that way, but the going off now part, not helpful, right? A lot of my patients understand this, and then the work we get to do is actually redesigning the alarm system. But what happens when we don't have control over the alarm system? What do we have control over? We have control over our understanding, narrative, and response to the noise. This got me thinking about the current political environment with all of the alarms and the chaos that's being intentionally created. But what specifically got me curious was the alarm responses we're trying to disconnect. And what I hear a lot about as a theme in my consultation groups and in my practice, and just with women in media and society, is that women have been smear campaigned since the dawn of time. Women have had the alarm go off that all of their positive beliefs of self are false. That they are bad, that they're crazy, that they're like, you name it. I mean, shit, like women were burned alive for being, quote, witches. Like, talk about a smear campaign, right? You see women coming forward in society now about men wronging them or hurting them, and they're scared to do so because they might have to deal with this smear campaign, which puts their whole life in a state of alarm, right? This idea that this narrative that is created, this noise, this wah, 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 right? About them, that's not true. That's like a malfunctioning alarm, but it might not be seen as true by other people who then that is a danger or safety issue for this woman, right? So the smear campaign isn't something new. It's been going on forever, but people's responses to the smear campaign is interesting to me. Now, granted, if we were being burned alive at the stake as witches, we would need to be cognizant of the alarm. But for a lot of women I support who are leaving abusive relationships or trying to co-parent with like really addictive, dark, narcissistic ex-husbands, like there's just a lot of noise that comes with that process. And I think that we can get clarity to see the system that the alarm system that is created, right? So if you've heard anything about narcissism specifically or smear campaigns specifically, what happens is that narcissistic people will typically project onto their victims what they did, meaning they will literally go around manipulating other people in the community. They're typically called the flying monkeys, to convince them that the victim of the narcissistic abuse who got away and is trying to rebuild their life is actually the problem and is actually the holder and the character container of all the behaviors of the perpetrator. You'll see that women are often told or said that they're like bad moms, that they're crazy, things like this. Again, none of this is new. None of this is innovative. It's part of this noise and this alarm that is created for a lot of women who are in therapy. And so this got me thinking again, going back to my Portuguese beach lunch. When the alarm is sounding and we have that assessment period where we can clearly see, whoa, something dangerous to my positive beliefs of self around my goodness, my sanity, my competence, my ability to parent, like all those alarms are being sounded. And then once we understand that assessment period tells us, well, no, we're actually safe, we're good, and these alarms are malfunctioning because they're being sounded by someone with no purpose, like there's no actual danger. But people around us are confused. Like this actually fits the feeling of being as a woman in a smear campaign. And I think what's really cool is that once we realize that this is kind of the only form of power and control left for somebody to try to impact us, to try to, if they can't control us in the house, right? They can change the image of us out in society. Once you realize that this is kind of the last thing they have available to them, something feels different. Once a woman realizes that the flying monkeys that are being manipulated, you see like sets of them come and go in and out of your life. But once you understand how they come at you, how they've been manipulated and how the alarm has been sounded for them to respond to help, something changes, right? There's a neutrality that can be reached with EMDR when false alarms are going off. Whether it is from an old alarm system from childhood that keeps sounding with the same triggers, but there's no actual danger now, or are being sounded not by your own trauma from younger parts and your programming, but by another person outside of you who's trying to disrupt your positive beliefs of self, your sense of belonging, your sense of goodness, your sense of sanity and clarity, and trusting yourself. It's really powerful to notice with EMDR that it's just noise. It's just noise. And, when we realize that small parts of us feel powerless in these old alarms, when we realize we actually have power now, it changes. It becomes neutral, it becomes calm. When we realize that these flying monkeys are being sold a load of bullshit to try to disrupt a woman's life, once that is clear, there almost starts to be like a empathy for the monkeys because they don't know what's going on. And there is a power that comes in for the woman who's being smeared, which is this: knowing that this person who is sounding these false alarms is so miserable, is so pathetic, is so joyless, that so much attention and energy is being put into sounding false alarms. It's almost like you feel a part of you feels annoyed, but a part of you just feels bad for them, because while this woman is out living her life and enjoying herself and dancing at the restaurant with the alarm going off and eating the amazing food with the view of the beach, that alarm's just going off, and it's like, is that how you want to use your energy and your attention, your focus and your agency, right? It's like this sadness knowing that person could actually go be at the beach themselves and go be eating great food and go be living their life, right? But they are incapable of understanding that real power comes from just investing in your own positive beliefs of self. And this grasping of power and control, often by men, but not always, to call people witches or call women crazy, or when a woman comes forward that someone's been a perpetrator or abusive to her, to just completely do like what's called a Darvo, right? Which is just like reverse the script, like, oh no, I'm the victim, they're bad. This isn't new, this isn't innovative. And women are onto this. They're really onto this. And it's not, the impact is different. It's not the same. And you know, society is onto this too. Like there's been enough books, there's been enough podcasts and articles that we kind of all see the strategy. And what's interesting is that, you know, when a smear campaign gets legal, right? Like we see in a lot of these like abuse cases, women will say like, this man did this to me, and then the smear campaign on her begins. But when we're in the legal system, what is interesting to me as well is that oftentimes these men who are creating these smear campaigns to distract from their own bad behavior and bad decisions and issues with control and power and abuse, the judges see it too. Like the lawyers see it too. And it's interesting because oftentimes these men will pick really skeezy, awful lawyers who like have a reputation for being awful, like dishonest, manipulative, abusive. And these guys walk into these courtrooms with these awful, dark, disgusting attorneys, and everyone knows the branding of these attorneys. The judges know it, the courts know it. It's like the other lawyers don't really have to point and say a whole lot because this person's choosing to be represented by this legal team. It's almost like they smear themselves by the company they keep. And so all of these things, the awareness, the choices these people end up making that kind of create their own destructiveness and destruction of their own lives, these are the variables that can create a sense of peace for women who are dealing with a smear campaign alarm. And being able to have the clarity and the zoom out from that and knowing like, this isn't new. There's books about this. This is like the best strategy they can, like all those things actually help create a lot of neutrality. And then what's left to do? Keep going to the beach. Keep hanging out with your friends. Keep getting your seafood. Keep dancing when the alarms go off. Because it's just noise. It's just noise. If you're somebody who has figured out that you have old alarms from childhood and you're thinking about getting really clear at updating the alarm system so the alarm's actually useful, I'm excited for you that you realize that. And I'm excited that you're willing to try EMDR or Brainspotting to get that recalibrated for yourself so that you can actually have an alarm system that works for you. And if you are a woman who is inundated by some noise, whether it's a smear campaign, a legal case, just living in a patriarchy, I hope that the framework that the false alarm and the noise that is designed to put you into chaos by attacking your sense of belonging and positive beliefs of self isn't always that powerful, isn't always that impressive, quite actually. And that the people who typically set these alarms off, right? Like we've seen these people in politics, we've seen them in the media, they typically self-destruct. They typically are revealed by the company they keep, the choices they continue to make, and there's not a whole lot you need to do in response, quite honestly. Just keep dancing at the beach. So with all of that being said, I hope this has been a helpful, thoughtful conversation for you. I look forward to being together next time on the podcast. And in the meantime, be well.